Good Wednesday morning. The New York Yankees get off to the start that they needed, the start that their fans wanted, the start that they themselves wanted to get off to with a 4-1 victory over the Cleveland Guardians last night at Yankee Stadium. I know it wasn't like 10-0, but this to me felt like a dominating performance with Gerrit Cole going as deep as he did, the bullpen doing what they did, getting those 4 runs, an easy victory. And now, for some reason, there isn't a game tonight. I hate the way the schedule is set up. They should be right back out there on another beautiful day, but of course there's a day off, and then rain on Thursday, or Friday, rather. But still, this was it, man. This is what you wanted to see. This is what all the Mets fans wanted to see from their team. Go out, win a game at home, and dominate to kick off the postseason. Good for the Yankees. Great start. Good morning, Boomer. How are you?
Good morning, G, and I couldn't agree more. It was a great start, an absolutely great start. The fans got exactly what they wanted. They got the guys that normally get involved, and I have to say, the Garden was rocking last night for the Rangers home opener against the Tampa Bay Lightning. So, yeah, two fan bases are pretty happy this morning, and certainly I am after beating the Lightning 3-1 last night, and Shesterkin playing great, and Mika Zibanejad having 2 goals. So,
nobody cares about hockey, Boomer.
Yeah, okay. You know what? I care. You know why I care? Because I put the Mets in a rear view window, let them figure out what they got to do. Now I'm focused on another one of my teams that is got major expectations, just like the Yankees have expectations.
Yep.
And their fan bases expect wins. And I agree with you wholeheartely. The Guardians are a light hitting team. They are. That's, that their previous series was that. This is a team that should be able to be swept here. This should be a team that should get wiped out here. And then the Yankees sit around and wait again, see what happens in the other series, and see whether or not they will face the Astros.
Yeah, which is what we've been talking about since May, and it does feel like we are on that collision course again. Still games to be played, and the Astros looked bad for a majority of the game yesterday and then came storming back, just like they always do, as they just don't die, the Houston Astros. But after yesterday, yeah, you're starting to dream again about that Yankees-Astros ALCS, and there's a lot of talk about Gerrit Cole. We sat here, talked about how Nestor Cortez was better throughout the year, and Gerrit Cole was going to get that Game 1 start because of the money that he makes and his name and everything else. He went out and delivered. Now, say what you want about the lineup and the Guardians and the payroll that they have, whatever. They still made it to this point. They still won their division. They still have very good players. And Gerrit Cole gave up his requisite home run that he always does. But outside of that, he was great. He was everything that you paid him for, he was last night. And there's going to be other important starts for him this postseason. But you love to see him like this version of himself to kick off the postseason. Because when he looks like that, the Yankees feel like a championship team. Him being your number 1 ace horse and looking like he did last night makes them feel like a World Series championship team.
Well, undisciplined hitters will make them look that good. I mean, they'll swing at a ton of pitches outside of the strike zone, and I felt like they did that last night. But I know this, that, this is all leading up to the big games. You could feel it, and they got to get through Cleveland first, and this isn't the Cleveland Indians that they had trouble with when Corey Kluber was there.
Sure.
That was a totally different situation, totally different team. The one thing I will say about the Guardians, they play in not the greatest of divisions, but, man, you got to give them credit. They know when to move on from guys and how to replace guys and continue to still win and make it to the playoffs. So I want to give them credit for that. But they're a light-hitting team, and this is the way it should be. That's the way it should have looked last night. And I also would say that I'm watching the San Diego Padres get wiped out by the Dodgers, and the Phillies hold on to beat the Braves.
Yep, that's right.
Which makes it even sting more. That's why I'm focusing more on the hockey now than I was on the baseball.
Well, it's all about the Yankees right now. I mean, forget about these other series. I'm not even paying attention to the National League at this point. It just makes me sick. So it's all about the Yankees and them doing what they need to do this year. And for a majority of the season, they were the best team in baseball. They had a miserable August, but they were the best team in baseball. They had a lot of injuries. They have gotten a little bit healthier, mostly healthy. DJ LeMahieu's a guy who's not around, but everybody else is coming back. except for Aroldis Chapman, of course. We know that situation. Rizzo being back and contributing like he did last night with the 2-run homer. I mean, if you look, when Rizzo is around, healthy and producing, who the Yankees are and what their record is as opposed to him being out or in a slump.
Yes.
I mean, other than Aaron Judge, you point to Anthony Rizzo as a guy who really gets this team moving in the right direction. So, yeah, it was everything you wanted to see last night, and this team is, listen, they are capable of it. And the Astros have been a thorn in their side, and I think that's what we're going to get again in the ALCS. But the Yankees don't lose to teams like this. They don't lose to the Twins. They don't lose to the Guardians. They don't lose to teams like this. So I expect them to wrap this thing up. I do believe that they will move on, and this was a great start. I just wish they were playing tonight. I don't understand the schedule at all. This is baseball. And the Yankees had, 5 days off prior to this?
Yes.
And why are you not playing in back-to-back games?
I would think to give the Cleveland Guardians a chance to have a day of rest.
Yeah, but they wrapped their series up in 2.
Yeah, I don't know.
So they had 2 days off prior to that.
Yeah, and they're going to run into some weather on Thursday.
Exactly. So then you might end up having 2 days off between the games and then having to travel and then going back-to-back that way. So it's silly. It doesn't make any sense.
I will say, who's living a dream right now is Harrison Bader.
Yeah.
He is living a dream, my man. Local kid, center field, Yankee Stadium, home run.
Hits the home run.
Comes off of the injury. When they made the trade, everybody's like, what the hell was this all about?
Right.
And now he turned up and he showed up in game 1, and he's going to be the guy manning center field. It's got to be pretty cool for him.
Yeah, and he was asked this question last night, and of course, nobody really thinks that he's going to be a huge contributor offensively, but he was last night with the home run. It's really about the defense. It's really about him maybe getting on base, stealing a base, all of that stuff. But he was asked last night about the pressure that was on him and how he felt when he couldn't play because of his injury and Jordan Montgomery getting off to the start that he did with the Cardinals. And he said, yeah, that's a great question, because that's exactly how I felt, that I wanted to get back out there. But I had to tell myself, you're not ready to play. And if I had forced myself to come back earlier just because of that pressure, because of this contract and me being a local kid and all that stuff, that I wouldn't have been the player that I needed to be. So I had to make sure that I took my time, got back healthy, and contributed in the way that he did. So, I mean, he just seems like he's great. He fits right in. Guys like that are just so invaluable when it comes to the postseason. Great defense, great energy, speed, those things really, really translate into the postseason. And him being a local guy is also a great story. Just
it's a
awesome.
great story. And then you got Cortez going now in game 2.
Yep.
So let's see if he follows up his great season with a great outing here in the playoffs. When you and I left on Monday, we took off yesterday because, according to the boys, we went to a spa or something. I'm not really sure. Somebody was saying how Al and Jerry thought we were at a spa.
Yes.
While we're out there raising money for children. Charities.
Yeah, children and charities, not a spa.
Right.
But yes, raising money for charities. Yes, that's
Yes.
right. Specifically the Boomer Esiason Foundation.
Right. And a beautiful day out at Glen Oaks. And thank you to everybody who showed up yesterday. Thanks to all the volunteers, Elliot and his army, and all the volunteers that came from WFAN yesterday. It was great. It was an absolutely great day. But we get off the air on Monday, and, of course, the first guy in the NFL is fired, Matt Rule. Mm-hmm. And, this is the guy that I think we all thought was going to get fired.
Well, I said it that morning. I said that he's going to be the first guy that gets fired, and it'll probably happen before the season ends.
And it happened right as we got off the radio, and people were like, man, I can't believe it happened so fast and all this other stuff. Well, there could be something else at play there. So David Tepper, the owner of the Panthers, probably has his eye on one or two guys that he wants to get his hands on, and he wants to be the first in line to be able to go after the guy that he wants. Number two, there are a number of college coaching jobs that are all of a sudden open. Mm-hmm. And I wouldn't be surprised at all. If Tepper's agent, Rule's agent talked to Tepper and said, hey, look, if this is going to go south and you feel like it's going south, and he's still got 5 years on his contract, I think 5 or 4 years on his contract.
$40-something million.
Right. Give us a chance to get out now, and we'll try and go get one of these big-time college jobs, and then we can, take some of the money and, put it against what you owe, Matt Rule. Mm-hmm. And it makes a lot of sense because, Nebraska's job's open. There's going to be 10 of these major college jobs open, and maybe that's where he wants to go, and he wants to have an opportunity to do that. And I think that if they let him out now, he will have a chance. and he will have a chance to get back to college and go be the college coach that I think that he's probably better at. And then this way you get two sides of it. Get him out of the building, let him go see if he can get another job, take that job, use that money against the contract that the Carolina Panthers have. But then the Carolina Panthers now have first choice at whoever they want to hire as their head coach moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, that franchise is really not all that interesting right now. The only thing that's interesting about them is if they end up trading some guys like Robbie Anderson or Christian McCaffrey, and apparently there's teams already reaching out to the Panthers about those players. We had talked about Saquon Barkley to the Bills. Maybe Christian McCaffrey ends up going to the Bills or another team that's looking for a running back. So the NFL news cycle continues to churn. And we've got, obviously, the two good football teams right now, at least early on in October, both winning records here in New York, which is what I certainly care about.
And by the way, I think this is the first week that we do have buys.
We got buys this
week.
week.
We got buys this week.
For the first time, we got buys.
I feel like we pretty much have buys, and the buys are Detroit, Tennessee, Las Vegas, and Houston.
Okay.
So those four teams will be having the weekend off.
All right. So now we're getting into that part of the season, and those who have those early buys probably hate it because it is a 17-game season as opposed to getting it a little bit later, and you get that break at that point. But unfortunately, of course, the Mets bow out early, but we still have the Yankees playing well. You got a 3-2 Jets team, and you got a 4-1 Giants team right now.
That's right. And then you also have now the new controversy is the roughing the passer. And what is roughing the passer? And I don't know. I was watching this game on Monday night, and Chris Jones, the defensive lineman for the Chiefs, sacks Derek Carr. And in the middle of sacking him, he has the ability and the wherewithal to steal the ball away from him before both of them go to the ground. Mm-hmm. And then on top of that, has the wherewithal to put his left hand down to almost cushion the fall. And, of course, we have roughing the passer. And in a game which, could have been turned completely over and around at that moment, allows the Raiders to hang around. And, again, another analytic call by a coach late in the game that makes no sense to me, and he can argue to me and about whether or not you should go for two in that situation. I'm not down with it. I'm not down with it at all, especially with the amount of time that was left in the game, the amount of timeouts both teams had. So you have this roughing the passer situation. We got another coach that goes analytics on us, and it doesn't work. And this seems to be like a reoccurring theme now throughout the first 5 weeks of the NFL season.
Yeah, and I think that it got ratcheted up even more with the Tua situation. I mean, obviously they have had these roughing the passer calls that are phantom for the last number of years. I think it got even more of an emphasis on it after what we saw with concussions and Tua, and those are going to be two things that are going to continue on. But it's gotten ridiculous. The NFL has a big problem on their hands. We're not going to stop watching the NFL because of this. It's not going to be like it's hurting business all that much, but fans are livid about this. There isn't a single NFL fan out there that agreed with the Tom Brady call or the call on Monday Night Football on Derek Carr. And that's what everybody was talking to us about yesterday when we were out and about, how ridiculous this is. Just put flags on these quarterbacks. There's no reason to even hit them anymore, do two-hand touch, and everybody believes that. So there has to be a happy medium. It has to be something that makes sense to the fans because these are game-changing plays. These could be eventually season-changing plays.
Yeah, the biggest problem is the inconsistency of it. So the play that Tua Tagovailoa got hurt on in the Bengal game, that Thursday night game, was the same tackle that Grady Jarrett laid on Tom Brady. Tua Tagovailoa got hurt. There was no penalty flag. Tom Brady doesn't get hurt, and there is a penalty flag. And they look very, very similar. And you're wondering what the head referee or the official in this case is thinking about. And I know they want to protect the quarterbacks. They also said at the beginning of the year, if you remember, there are a lot of these roughing the quarterback calls last year and in previous years where they got just grazed up around the head area, where their face mask got hit or the back of their helmet got hit, and they were getting flags thrown. And they were saying, we're going to try to stay away from those flags. That's going to be contact that's not going to be deemed roughing or an illegal hit if it's accidental and it's not really significant. And that's, again, on the field. The referee has got to make that decision in real time. And sometimes they're throwing the flags and sometimes they're not. So there's a big inconsistency with how this thing is being administered. That I think is the most frustrating part of it all for us fans. And then to watch Chris Jones make what I think is one of the most athletic plays I've ever seen a defensive lineman make, and have the ability to try to kind of cushion a fall with his left hand while he's taking the ball away with his right hand was amazing. And then, of course, you knew a flag was coming.
Right, and he gets penalized for it. All right, Boomer and Gio just getting started on this Wednesday morning. It is all about the Yankees today. We're actually giving away Yankee tickets to Game 2 at the stadium on Thursday night in the 8 o'clock and 9 o'clock hours.